Hey everybody, it's Kellen Nitro for Nitromaniac TV's wrestling channel, and hello, it's Kellen from Canada, and this is my take, Nitro's take, of Elimination Chamber, which took place on February 17th, 2019, from Houston, Texas. As I was down at one of our establishments here in the city, Beercade, if you get a chance to check them out on social media, they are at Beercade YEG, hanging out with the Pro Wrestling YEG guys, or Pro Wrestling YEG guys, however you want to call it, for their event on April 13th as well. The link to purchase tickets is below in the description. We all sat back and checked out a great card, watching it on pay-per-view and not on the WWE network, as it was a closed-circuit broadcast to that establishment. So we did not get to see Buddy Murphy versus Akira Tozawa. I'll get a chance to watch that a little bit later on. I kind of want to see what happened in that one. The opening contest was the Elimination Chamber match for the brand new women's tag team titles. The Boston Hug Connection of Bayley and Sasha Banks took on Carmella and Naomi, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, Nia Jax and Tamina, the Iconics of Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, and the Riot Squad team, this time being represented by Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan. This match here started really slow. It had a real slow burn to it. The entire match itself lasts just over a half hour. Wikipedia has it listed at 33:40. It's an Elimination Chamber match. The idea with this one was to finally crown women's tag team champions, and they did so with the Boston Hug Connection being the first women's tag team champions in WWE, so history made there. This was one of the main draws of the card tonight because this is one of the inaugural title changes for that belt. And I counted it as 0-1, I guess, because you had the belt go from vacant to Boston Hug. So there you go. I mean, it remains to be seen on what this division will be about. The idea of the belts is Boston Hug have the belts, and I think they'll be defended on both SmackDown and Raw. Probably most likely having some sort of build with, it seems like Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville for those belts, just because they were the last team. So I imagine there'll be a matchup between the two teams at Fastlane, kind of creating an interpromotional thing with Raw and SmackDown. I know at the end of April the plan is to do another draft, so you have some people switching brands and that stuff. So for right now, having the belts jump between both brands is a good way to establish them. I don't see Boston Hug holding the belts through WrestleMania because I think they might be teasing a split at this point, but we'll see what happens. There's still one whole pay-per-view before WrestleMania as well, so I would think that with Boston Hug as the champions, I think they defended on Raw maybe once or two times here before Fastlane, and then at Fastlane you bring in Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, and then all bets are off. We'll see what happens with that title and title changes going forward. WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championship was up next, where the Usos defeated The Miz and Shane McMahon. And this was pretty cool because I was watching the card tonight with a non-wrestling buddy who, doesn't really, like I said, doesn't watch the WWE product at all and that stuff. And he thought that this was actually pretty admirable at the end of the match where, Shane got up from the table after it was broken and that stuff and kind of just put his arm around Miz. It was like, okay, I understand. It's cool, whatever. And we saw the vignette a little bit later on in the night where Miz was freaking out about losing it and that stuff. But, Shane McMahon, God, just still a risk taker at his age and that stuff. It wasn't really so much of a risk taking as it is just with him. He keeps it simple, probably about 4 or 5 really, wrestling related spots that he does. And then, with the 2 ones, the Leap of Faith and then the Coast to Coast is essentially his 2 aerial moves that he likes to do. So it's a simple moveset. I think it complemented the Uso style very well. I think The Miz has proven that he can work with pretty much anybody in there. So it was a really underrated match on the card, I would say. Very entertaining. I think the Usos were a better opponent than the Bar was for the tag team straps, and now we can see how the storyline will evolve between Shane McMahon and Miz. So match accomplished what it needed to accomplish. now there might be some, I don't want to say there's some dissension in that camp because it hasn't really come to light yet, but now there's some adversity that camp has to face. So now where does that story take us? We have a brand new Intercontinental Champion as Finn Balor actually won a handicap match. I can't remember when the last time a handicap match was featured on a WWE pay-per-view that the face actually ended up winning. It takes a while to remember. Post in the comments below if you can. He defeated the former champion Bobby Lashley, and he was tagging with Lio Rush. And then I guess the big run with that is Lio Rush getting booted to the curb by Bobby Lashley, which we thought, hey, all right, so maybe they're turning Lashley face prior to Mania at that point. Turns out they weren't, and we'll find out a little bit later on where he ended up. Keep watching. But that match itself was very serviceable. It made Balor look like $1 million in there, and I think the Intercontinental strap, I didn't think of it earlier, it's a good fit for him. I think that Intercontinental belt he epitomizes that Intercontinental belt right now, and I think that between him and Nakamura, it's too bad it's not Survivor Series time, because if you had, well, R-Truth's the U.S. champion, I should say. If you laterally move that U.S. belt back to Nakamura, you could have Balor and Nakamura, and that's a show-stealing match anywhere on a planet. Just let them do their Japanese strong style for 20 minutes and things would happen. So there you go. The one thing about this card is that while I didn't expect much out of this card, I have a feeling that every match it over-delivered. I think just what happened either in the match or after the match, it over-delivered on the card. So Ronda Rousey defeating Ruby Riott by submission to retain the Raw Women's Championship isn't really the story. It was a short match as it was. What happened afterwards was the huge story. Of course, Charlotte had sat at ringside prior to, as she stated she was going to do, and had cut a promo before. The sound level in the bar wasn't such that I could hear exactly what was being said, unfortunately, but I kind of got the message here, and that's it, that she was here just as an observer to watch Ronda and Ruby and see who she would have right at WrestleMania. Maybe put down Becky a little bit, whatever. They go face-to-face in the ring, and while they're standing face-to-face in the ring, out limps Becky Lynch, and man, she wore out a couple of girls. Man, she flat wore out a couple of girls with those crutches. Ronda looked like she was split from the head. I'm not sure if that was part of Ruby's dye that she had caught in her hair, but I think that was more of a cut somehow from the crutches, and bruises all over. So did Charlotte as well. It is the strongest that I've ever seen somebody look with a quote-unquote injury since the Steve Austin days and the Austin 316 days. They really are making Becky kind of this hybrid between Steve Austin back in the late 90s and the Daniel Bryan Yes Movement thing from 2014. I think the seeds are planted now definitely for a triple threat main event at Mania with Charlotte, Ronda, and Becky, because now Becky would have to be integrated into that match somehow, some way. I believe she will, and I think they'll go ahead with that. And it's smart. It's good. They got somebody that fans could boo in Charlotte. They have a tweener with Ronda, and they got a babyface, cult-like hero in Becky. So I just hope the build is good, and I hope the match delivers on Mania Sunday. And I'm looking forward to checking it out live. Baron Corbin defeating Braun Strowman in a no disqualification match. This was about 10 minutes long or so, and I think the real jaw-dropping moment was Bobby Lashley being employed by Corbin and McIntyre. They laid out Strowman through 2 tables on a triple powerbomb, reminiscent of the Shield days and the Shield run. So with that still fresh in everybody's mind, it did garner a very negative reaction at the bar, and it probably garnered a negative reaction in-house, in person in Houston. So where does that leave everybody going forward? I would think that Strowman might be getting set up to go either one-on-one with McIntyre at Mania, or maybe it's a one-on-3 type scenario at Fastlane. Just a hunch, and I think that they might be putting over Strowman big in that scenario if that's the case. In the men's Elimination Chamber for the WWE Championship, Daniel Bryan retained, but not before Kofi Kingston put in another solid performance. And over the past week, he's done two solid performances in title matches. And I would have to think that he has been shortlisted with Mustafa Ali's injury as kind of the guy that would be in Ali's spot going into Mania at this time. Now, if Ali gets healthy going into Mania, then I see that one maybe being a triple threat. Maybe you throw Kingston in there against Ali versus Bryan for the WWE Championship. I think that would be awesome, but as it stands right now, I think it'd be pretty well either a no-brainer for either Fastlane or Mania, where you got Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston one-on-one. I really think that Kofi is due this. Is this perhaps a last hurrah type run? Maybe he's looking at hanging up the boots at the end of the year. I'm not sure, or maybe even after WrestleMania. No word of that or no rumor of that at this time, but we'll have to wait and see on that. So all in all, Elimination Chamber, like I said, I didn't expect too much out of this card, and I thought that this card actually over-delivered quite a bit. So I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. It's a very watchable card. The card seemed a little shorter, but I think it's just because of the 6 matches on the main card, because of the chamber. Both chamber matches are about half hour long, the women's being 33 minutes, the men's being about 36 minutes. So, going forward into Fastlane, I think WWE is really got they're putting their best foot forward here in that stuff. We didn't even touch on the Seth Rollins Brock Lesnar Universal title feud here, and nothing to do with the U.S. title feud with R-Truth, Shinsuke, and Rusev. Nothing to do with the Raw tag titles as well. So there were some titles missing off this card, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. But anyways, later days, I'm Kellen Nitro. Goodbye from Canada, and we will see you next time on Nitromaniac TV's wrestling channel. And put your thoughts in the comment below. What did you think of the Elimination Chamber 2019 if you watched it?